So first of all, just a quick journal entry based on my first EH4119 session, which is for the unit Developing Teaching, Learning and Assessment. I'm going to be using the Gibbs reflective cycle in order to kind of reflect upon my learning and thoughts, feelings of the first session. I think first of all we'll just kind of take a look at the session content. So session one, first of all, we looked at the process of learning and really had a good question about what does this actually mean, what does this mean to us as educators, and I've thought about it probably on the drive home more than anything, but I've thought about it since, and I think the environment section of it is probably the most important bit, because you can see in that environment there's a lot of stimulus, and probably more stimulus for a learner than what there is for a educator or a teacher or a lecturer. Because if you're in a classroom, and it can happen nowadays, 20, 30 children in there, it's going to be noisy. There's going to be a lot of visual cues, people maybe not doing what they should be doing, which can be distracting, potentially people speaking to you. We get a lot of children who listen to music, and we have to ask them to take their earphones out or earbuds out, which can be distracting. It might be the visuals. So is it the teacher? What is the teacher stood? What's the teacher doing? Are they sat down? Is there something on the whiteboard? What's on the whiteboard? Is that visually engaging? So a lot of stimulus, and I think all that stimulus, especially has a lot of information, and the information that needs to be retained, it can be very, very difficult to focus on, especially for some children, especially neurodivergent children as well. So I think all that stimulus is going to be extremely difficult for a student to pinpoint a particular piece of information and maintain, and that probably makes the rest of it a little bit more relevant. So why is it? Probably explains the relevance of going back to certain topics. So if we as educators provide information to a student and they miss a particular piece of information because of distractions within that environment, then we need to make sure that we go over that again. So I think if we ensure that the learning takes place in the classroom in the first instance, learning can also potentially take place outside of the classroom through blended learning ideas. It's only going to be stored into the long-term memory, or it's only going to be remembered if we revisit that information and go over it and go over it and go over it. That's something that I do for my examination lesson. I use a kind of gamification type method, such as Blockit and Quizlet, and we do the exact same questions. So I've got all the questions all mapped out with different types of question, open questions, closed questions about the exam, because I want the students to become experts at the exam. I want them to know how many marks there are for each question. I want them to know how many paragraphs are required in each section. I want them to know what each paragraph is about in each section or each question. So I want them to become experts, and the only way they become experts is if I keep going over and over and over every single lesson those questions. So I think if that's the case and it's long-term teaching, then there'll also be long-term learning as well, and that's what I really kind of took away from that. Also, we looked at this. So what does innovation really mean to me? I suppose innovation means creating for me. So creating something new, not always going into a lesson using the exact same teaching methods. I know I've just talked about using gamification as a teaching method to really instill information within my learners, but thinking about new things, new ways to teach the students. So it can't just be what I call talk and chalk. Okay, can we have different effective methods to actually get the students to remember information or come up with brand new information and share that with either the peers or a group or a class or to the teacher? which can then be explored further. So I think innovation, creation of new methods. And this is a good one as well. So I was thinking about this quite a bit. So subject-specific innovation practice. We tend to use quite a lot of online stuff, and I suppose that's probably quite common nowadays. So I'm going to use a Wakelet for my reflective journal. So when I submit a reflective journal, this video will be the first entry. I do tend to use Wakelets or Padlets and other kind of online assessment methods, and all this is now just because we're trying to get away from AI written assignments. So we can get students to present, such as I'm doing right now, and speak about their knowledge and understanding of a topic using video footage or a live presentation or a Wakelet, then that will be really, really useful, I think. So going back to the reflection now, there's a lot to think about. In terms of what we did on the day and what we need to do before the next session, and then what we also need to do for the first assignments in terms of this innovation intervention that we need to set up and trial. So obviously good and bad experiences there, because it's given us something to think about. Bad experiences is that we now need to try and intervene and use or implement one of those strategies. And it's just kind of really now thinking about what strategy I'm going to use. So analysis, what I need to make in the situation is I need to do further reading. I've got a couple of ideas, so I thought about gamification, which is something I've just spoken about then. That is something I have done previously, whereas I'm also thinking about potentially using another method of teaching, which is, I don't know if it's a word I've just made up, but coachification or coachability for students. We try and coach certain aspects of a topic rather than teaching it. So we can provide teaching and learning in the classroom, but then can we coach in terms of can they become an expert learner for their own topic or module or unit. So that's an idea that I've had. To conclude, what I need to do is more reading. So what I need to do now is do a little bit more reading. I could have done some more reading, or I could have done some reading of a journal, an article before I went into that first session, especially when I was looking at the Sir Ken Robinson video that was provided. It might have provided me a little bit more of an opinion on that, but definitely I could do some more reading, and that's going to be my action plan. So I've got 2 tasks here that I need to make sure I complete before next Tuesday when I'm in. And I also need to do some reading for my teaching intervention as well. Thank you.